Ever heard of a law so strange it makes you say, hold my mint julep? Buckle up because we're saddling up for a trip to Kentucky, the state famous for bourbon, bluegrass, and apparently some truly bizarre laws. One minute you're enjoying a horse race, the next you're learning it's illegal to trade them after dark. They might be head scratchers, but hey, at least they'll make you say, at least my state doesn't require a bath certificate. We're heading to the heart of Kentucky, the land of bluegrass music, bourbon, and apparently a healthy dose of legislative weirdness. Kentucky's legal code boasts some head scratchers that would leave even the most seasoned law professor raising an eyebrow. Take, for example, the head scratching ban on reptiles in religious ceremonies. Did a particularly enthusiastic snake handling preacher cause a chaotic coup in a small Kentucky town? We may never know the origin story, but one thing's for sure. Leave your pet iguana or cherished chameleon at home if you're planning a visit to a Kentucky church service. Imagine the look on the pastor's face. If you slithered in with your pet boa constrictor draped around your shoulders, definitely not how you want to start your Sunday service. This law may seem strange, but hey, it's these legal oddities that make Kentucky, well, Kentucky. Number 2, bath time is mandatory. You heard that right, folks. In the rolling hills of Kentucky, cleanliness isn't just next to godliness. It's apparently mandated by law. According to a head-scratching state code, every citizen must bathe or shower at least once a year. Now, before you picture a squad of soapy sheriffs enforcing shower quotas, let's be honest. There's probably not a SWAT team dedicated to deep-frying funky citizens. But this law does leave us scratching our heads. How exactly do they determine bath time compliance? Is there a yearly Great Kentucky Sponge-Off, where everyone gathers at the town square for a public scrub-a-dub-dub? Maybe it's an honor system, with everyone pinky swearing to their annual ablutions. And what about folks living off the grid without access to fancy showers? Do they get a free pass with a homestead hygiene loophole? This law is more puzzling than a bar of soap that mysteriously shrinks in the shower. It's a hilarious reminder that sometimes the legal system can be as quirky as a Kentucky colonel in a seersucker suit. Number 3, trading horses after dark? Not in Franklin County. Ever heard that saying?
Hold your horses.
Well, in Franklin County, Kentucky, you better take it literally, especially if you're planning a late-night horse trade. Yep, this county has a law straight out of a wacky Western movie, prohibiting the buying and selling of horses after dark. Imagine the scene. 2 shadowy figures huddled by a barn. A tense exchange over a particularly ornery-looking stallion. Was this a cloak and dagger operation to unload a nag with a nasty cough? Or maybe just a couple of night owls who forgot to check their watches? The law doesn't say, but one thing's for sure. It injects some serious intrigue and potential hilarity into the world of equine transactions. There are 2 possible explanations for this law. Maybe they were worried about shady deals going down under the cover of darkness, like slipping a sickly steed past an unsuspecting buyer. Or perhaps they just wanted to make sure there was enough light to properly inspect the horse's health. After all, buying a horse in the dark is a bit like picking out a watermelon. You never know what you're going to get until you crack it open, or in this case, saddle up. Whatever the reason, this law is a guaranteed conversation starter. So next time you're wrangling with a friend about the finer points of Kentucky law, just throw out this little nugget.
You can't buy a horse after dark in Franklin County?
Guaranteed to get a chuckle, and maybe a raised eyebrow or two. Now keep in mind, I don't make the laws. I just make you aware of the laws. Our next law hails from Corbin, Kentucky, and let's just say it wouldn't fly today. Imagine showing off your poolside look, only to be met with a disapproving lifeguard, citing a town ordinance about your weight. Yep, that was reality for Corbin residents in the early 1900s. An old law dictated that women above a certain weight couldn't wear bathing suits in public pools. As my grandma would say,
Who decides what weight is pool-worthy?
this discriminatory law is a hilarious reminder of how much beauty standards have thankfully evolved. Can you imagine the poolside fashion police these days?
Sorry, ma'am. That swimsuit showcases too much. Confidence? Maybe try the full-body pool float instead.
Let's just be glad we can all rock our swimsuits with pride, and maybe a little SPF these days. Number 5, hat shopping with a side of permission. Have you ever gotten the side eye from a salesperson because you took forever picking out the perfect hat? Well, for women in Owensboro, Kentucky, during the early 1900s, hat shopping wasn't just about finding the right style. It was about getting the right permission. An old ordinance, straight out of a sitcom, think I Love Lucy, mandated that women needed their husband's approval before purchasing a hat. Can you imagine the scene? Picture it. Mildred walks into a bustling millinery, eyes sparkling at a divine feathered cloche. The saleswoman beams, ready to make a commission. But then, Mildred remembers the law. With a sigh, she mutters,
Hold on. Gotta call Henry and see if this matches the curtains.
Thankfully, this law is a hilarious relic of a bygone era, a reminder of how far we've come in terms of women's autonomy. Now, the only permission you need to buy that fabulous hat is the one from your fabulous self. Kentucky law loves a good loophole, and this next one takes the cake. Or maybe the saddle blanket in this case. We're heading to London, Kentucky, where a law exists that would make even Casanova blush. Apparently, some lovebirds in the bluegrass state got a little too frisky on a parked motorcycle one too many times because, according to local ordinance, any kind of hanky panky, as my grandma used to say, is strictly forbidden on a stationary motorcycle. The kicker? This law doesn't apply to moving motorcycles. So, if you're looking to add some vroom vroom to your boom boom, fire up the engine. But be warned, a parked motorcycle rendezvous could land you in hot water, or perhaps more accurately, lukewarm engine oil. One can only imagine the brainstorming session that led to this law.
Mayor, how do we stop these public displays of affection?
Well, Sheriff, if they can't keep it in their britches while the bike's running, surely a stationary motorcycle will cool their jets.
Let's just say chivalry might be dead. But at least in London, Kentucky, a little movement goes a long way. Number 7, dishwater disposal done right. We've all been there. The sink is overflowing with sudsy water, the dishes are sparkling clean, and you're left wondering what in the world to do with all that leftover dishwater. Fear not, weary dishwashers. The great state of Kentucky has a law, yes, a law, specifically dedicated to this age-old dilemma. Apparently, in the fine state of bluegrass, common courtesy needed a little legislative nudge. Imagine a historic debate in the Kentucky State House.
Mr. Speaker, the good people of Kentucky deserve clean streets, free from the tyranny of rogue dishwater.
Audience gasps. While this law might seem like a hilarious overreach, it does highlight the fascinating and sometimes nonsensical ways laws are created. So next time you're contemplating the existential crisis of dishwater disposal, just remember, Kentucky has your back and your street covered. So there you have it, folks. The weirdest laws Kentucky has to offer. These laws are a reminder that sometimes the legal system can be a bit, well, strange. But hey, they make for great conversation starters, right? What's the weirdest law you've ever heard of? If you have any strange laws from your state, leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, remember where you are, and remember the law.